Have you ever stopped to think about your body as this super advanced machine? A piece of biological hardware that's way beyond anything we could build. Well, that's exactly how we're going to look at it today. We're diving into how this incredible machine takes in data from the world, processes it, and manages its own internal systems to keep everything running just perfectly. So that's the big question, right? How does this thing actually pull it off? How does it manage to see and hear and feel everything happening on the outside, while at the same time running this internal quality control system that would make any factory on Earth totally jealous? It's going to be a pretty cool journey into our own biology. So here's our game plan. First, we'll check out the body's high-fidelity input sensors. Yep, your eyes and ears. Then, we'll get into the different data speeds of touch, which is fascinating. From there, we'll dive into the internal machinery and look at the kidney's incredible filtration system. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at the chemical software that fine-tunes the entire operation. All right, let's jump right into section 1, how we see and hear. These are the primary data gathering devices for your body. Your eyes and ears are constantly scanning your environment, translating light and sound waves into a language that your brain can actually make sense of. Your eye works a lot like a super high-tech camera. But while a camera has to physically move its lens back and forth to focus, your eye does something way cooler. The lens itself actually changes shape. This process is called accommodation, and it's how you can get a crystal clear image whether you're looking at something miles away or reading the tiny text on your phone. So once that light is focused, who's actually doing the seeing? Well, meet the dynamic duo of your retina, the rods and the cones. Think of rods as your night vision specialists. They are incredibly sensitive to light levels, but they don't see in color. The cones, on the other hand, they're the artists. They detect red, green, and blue, and they give us our vibrant, detailed color vision. And just to give you a sense of scale, you have about 120 million rods, but only around 6 million cones. You absolutely need both working together to get the full picture. And here's a wild little quirk in our wiring. The signals from your eyes don't just shoot straight back to your brain. Nope, they actually cross over at this junction called the optic chiasm. So what this means is that everything you see in your right visual field is actually processed by the left side of your brain, and the other way around. It's just a brilliant and kind of weird piece of engineering. Okay, so let's switch gears from light to sound. Hearing is this beautiful, purely mechanical process. So first, as you see here, sound waves come into your ear. They get amplified by 3 tiny bones, literally the smallest bones in your entire body. Then, that last little bone taps against the fluid-filled cochlea. This creates these tiny ripples inside which bend tiny little hair cells, and that is what generates the electrical signals for pitch that your brain understands as sound. It goes from a physical wave to a thought in just a fraction of a second. Okay, we've done sight and sound, now let's move on to touch. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not all touch signals travel at the same speed. It turns out your body has this complex data highway system, and some of the information is traveling in the fast lane, and some is taking the scenic route. And this chart explains it perfectly. Think of your nervous system as having 2 lanes. You've got the express lane, the dorsal column. It uses these heavily insulated nerve fibers to just rocket information about fine touch and vibration straight to the brain. It's almost instant. But then you have the scenic route, the anterolateral system. It carries pain and temperature signals a bit more slowly. And this is exactly why the sharp sting of a paper cut feels immediate, but the dull ache from bumping your shin takes a moment to really set in. 2 different speeds for 2 different jobs. Now we're going to switch gears big time. We've been talking about taking information in, but now let's talk about managing what goes out. If your senses are the input devices, then your kidneys, well, they're the master quality control system. They are the tireless, silent heroes working 24/7 to keep your whole internal system perfectly clean and balanced. I mean, just take a moment to really let this number sink in. Every single day, your kidneys filter 180 liters of fluid from your blood. That is more than 47 gallons. It is an absolutely staggering amount of work, and it's happening inside you right now without you even thinking about it. So how in the world do they do it? Well, it's this incredibly elegant 3-step process. First up is filtration, where this microscopic strainer called the glomerulus just yanks all the waste out of the blood. Then, step 2, the body does something super smart, reabsorption. It reclaims all the good stuff it needs, like water, sodium, and literally 100% of your glucose. And finally, step 3 is concentration. The kidney creates this clever little salty zone that pulls even more water back into the body, making sure you only lose what you can really afford to. It's just brilliant.
But simply filtering stuff isn't the whole story. The system needs to make tiny, precise adjustments in real time. And this is where the body's chemical software comes in. We're talking about hormones that act as regulators, constantly fine-tuning the whole operation based on what your body needs from one moment to the next.
Let's start with the first one, ADH. You know that feeling when you're really thirsty? That's a direct signal that your body has released antidiuretic hormone. ADH is basically your body's emergency water-saving signal. It zips down to your kidneys and tells them, hey, open up these special water channels and pull more water back into the blood before we lose it. It's your own personal hydration manager. And next up, we have aldosterone, which is your body's dedicated salt manager. This hormone is all about balancing key electrolytes. It gives the kidneys the command to hang on to precious sodium, which is vital for your nerves and muscles, while at the same time telling them to get rid of any excess potassium. It is a constant, delicate balancing act. And this might be the most critical balancing act of all, managing your blood's pH. Your body has to stay at this very specific, slightly alkaline pH of 7.4. It's not optional. So if your blood gets a little too acidic, no problem. The kidneys just excrete the extra acid. And if it's not basic enough, they literally generate more base to even things out. They're constantly monitoring and adjusting to keep that perfect chemical balance. So when you put it all together, you start to see this beautifully integrated system. Your eyes, your ears, your skin, they're the sophisticated inputs, constantly gathering data from the world around you. And your kidneys are the master output processors, filtering, reabsorbing, and regulating to make sure the internal machine is running in absolute perfect harmony. And that really brings us to the final thought here. Trillions of these calculations and filtrations and signals are happening inside you every single second, without you ever having to give a single command. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Of all these incredible systems working silently in the background to keep you going, what's the most amazing one you think you take for granted?